What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to show you how to do a technique in Serum that has become very popular recently. You can hear this technique being used by Fred again in his song Turn On Lights Again. You can hear it in the song Here We Go Again by David Guetta. And you can also hear it in the song Miracle by Calvin Harris. And this is going to be the trance gate effect. Now within Serum, there's a little bit more work involved in order to do this because it doesn't just come with a trance gate or like an arpeggiator where you can just turn this on. So I want to walk you through the steps that we need to do to achieve this. Now before we get started today, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe, and also please go ahead and give this video a like to help with that YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go and jump right into it. Now, a traditional gate has a threshold, and basically when audio goes above this threshold, this gate opens, and when the audio falls below this threshold, the gate closes. So basically when the gate closes, it cuts off the audio, and when it opens, you can hear the audio. And this is useful for dialogue or drums when you want to cut out background noise. Now that's how a traditional gate works. For a trance gate, it is using a sequence or a pattern in order to determine when to open and close this gate. So you can get these really choppy melodies, these really fast melodies, or these rhythms out of just playing and holding a single note on the keyboard, or holding out a note on a sample. For example, the song Turn On Lights Again by Fred again, he has that vocal lead sound and it's kind of choppily playing, but he's probably just like holding out the note on the keyboard with a trance gate that's triggering that rhythm. With other synths like Silent, there is a built-in arpeggiator, and you can actually turn this on to the step mode, and then you can mess around with this and you can get your trance gate effect. But with Serum, it doesn't really have a arpeggiator, which is disappointing. So we have to use this LFO1 in order to create this trance gate effect. So let me just go ahead and put on this saw wave, and I'm going to raise up the unison to 7. I'm just going to make this a bit pad-like. So basically, LFO1, I'm going to start playing around with this. I'm going to change the grid to 16. So now if you look at the grid, we've got, let's go ahead and remove that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got basically 16 of these lines across. And now I'm going to put the rates to 1/2 and turn it on to trigger so that when I play a note, this LFO1 is going to be re-triggered. And I've got my BPM at like 140 because that's kind of like where trance is. The BPM where trance is usually around 140. Now what I can do is I could click and go like this, and I can enter in my little dots here. But you can see it's kind of random. It's not really great if I just like click these dots here, and it's not going to create a trance gate effect that I want. So basically, let me go ahead and just remove that. So what I do is I hold down Shift on my keyboard, and if I hold down Shift, it'll create a straight line that is the length of these grids lines. So basically, this is going to be 1/16 of this grid. If I do this grid to an 8 and I hold down Shift, then the line is going to be basically an 1/8 of this grid. So I'm going to do 16, and this is going to help me create my trance gate effect. Now this is kind of buggy. I mean, it's not the smoothest way of creating, or it's not the easiest thing to do, but because you can accidentally, like if I drag it over a little bit, then it will create more little nodes and stuff. So I'm going to try to get this rhythm down. So let's do this, and then like that. And then I'll repeat this. And that one's a little messed up. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So this is going to be the rhythm that I'm going to use for this first example. And if I drag my LFO1 to the level of oscillator A and adjust this modulation, and now if I play a note, we have the trance gate effect. And you can play around with the rhythms here, and you can even play around with the levels. So if I hit Shift and bring this one down, and I can do the same thing for this one, now it's going to affect the level. I can also play around with different rhythms. So maybe I just want it to be like this. So there's a lot of different rhythms that you can play around with. And once you have a rhythm that you like, I would recommend going and clicking on this folder and hitting Save Shape. And when you hit Save Shape, it's going to take you into this user thing, and then you can save your shape. And I've created a couple of these. So that first one I showed you was a trance one. I have trance 2, which sounds like this. And then let's see, I think I created another one called trance 3. go back to this first one. And you can play around with the rate, but it might be too fast. It really depends on like the variations of this rhythm that you want to create. So I found that 16th works good for me if I wanted to do this something like grid 1/8. And I had it like rate 1/4, and then I need to change this and not make the little divisions so small. So I could do it like that as well. I like doing it at 16th though, so let's put at grid 16, rate 1/2, go back to my shape there. Now if I do want to add on another oscillator, let's say I want to add on oscillator B, raise this up to +7 semitones, add on this LFO, so assigning it to the level. Maybe add some voices of unison there. I have to assign this LFO basically to every oscillator that I want to be triggered by this trance gate. So if I put on the sub, then I'd have to assign this LFO1 to the sub as well. If you don't want to do this, there's another way that you can basically assign this LFO1 to these oscillators. And what you do is you go into your matrix tab and you go to your source. You can click here and you can select LFO1, or you can just drag LFO1 to your source. And then you can do destination global master amp, and that's amplitude amplifier, or it's just like the level of the volume of Serum basically. And I'm going to raise this amount to 100. And now if I play it, now what I can do is I got to fix the levels here. Let's raise up these levels. So now I can just play around with this amount. So there it is with the trance gate all the way on. And I can even just add on a bit of a release on my envelope. So if I play a note on my keyboard now, it has this really nice effect where it still has the trance gate going, but then it slowly fades out. And you can also play around with turning your legato on. So if I'm just on my keyboard playing some notes, and so basically when you have legato on, it's not going to re-trigger this LFO if you have two notes playing one after each other, if they're basically overlapping each other like these notes. But if I turn off legato, then it's going to restart the LFO. And if you're programming the MIDI, this might not be like an issue, but if you're just playing around on a keyboard, that might be something to note. And also you can just turn on mono if you're only going to be using single notes. And a lot of times you'll hear this kind of like as a pad sound or like a saw wave, bright saw wave like I have here. So let's go and just turn off this, lower this semitones to 0. I'm going to raise up that octave and turn on the filter for A and B. And that way we can get more of a pad sound. Now when I do add on the effects, so let's add on some reverb. I believe the reverb will still be playing like this matrix, the amp. I believe this is going to be the volume before the effects, because when I put on this reverb, I don't think the reverb is gated. So I think you can still put on the reverb and just not have that gated. So there you have it, more of kind of like a pad effect. So that's basically how you do this trance gate effect. I mean, it's pretty simple to do with your LFO1, but that's really the only way. You can't just turn on the arpeggiator within Serum because there isn't one. So just using this LFO and then programming in these little notches here, just playing around with the levels and also the rhythms, playing around with this grid. Putting the mode onto trigger is usually the best way to do it so that it restarts at the beginning if you want to restart, or playing around with mono, legato, playing around with the rates, and also like your envelope here and your filter. So that's kind of like the basic way that you can set up a trance gate. If you do want these these 1, 2, 3, I have 3 of these shapes. If you do want these shapes, I'll go ahead and put a link down below for you to grab these for free. If you want those LFO trance shapes, I might start creating some more because the sound is becoming pretty popular. It's like the new sound of 2023. So if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you'd like to check out any of my Serum preset packs, I'll put links down below for those as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.